Hi besties. I don't really know what to call this video or how to classify it, whether it's like a sit down, whether it's a vlog, whether it's a secret third thing. All I know is that this is the big reset because I've had to do a reset in my life and then by extension with this channel. So don't know if you've noticed, haven't been posting regularly and/or at all over the summer. Summer was really rough for me. Don't know if it had to do with Mercury retrograde being like 2 to 3 months long, whether it's because I spread myself out too thin in my personal life, work life, and again, by extension, YouTube creating video life. And as far as like YouTube video creation, it turned into a thing where every video that I pushed myself to make was just super dissatisfying to me. But while I did upload a couple of videos throughout the summer, I have since then privated them because I'm just not happy with them. I don't know if it's obvious to a random viewer watching those videos, but like me looking back on those videos, it's just glaringly obvious to me that I was not motivated to do it, that I was forcing myself to be on camera, that I was just not having a good time. I can tell you now, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more motivated to post, clearly, because we're doing this now. So you must be wondering, what'd you do to fix it? And I did what anybody would do if they had the resources to do what I did. And that's run away from my life for a week. I actually spent the last week of August in LA with my work grandma. I didn't do any like sexy fun young people LA activities. I really went to hang out with my 83-year-old friend. My days really amounted to waking up at 7, having breakfast with my work grandma, leaving her apartment around 10, coming back around 6 or 7, having dinner with my work grandma, and then settling in for a K-drama with her until about 11 p.m. and then repeat for an entire week. Which again, isn't the sexiest, funnest, coolest thing to do on vacation, but it is exactly what I needed. So it was actually a really great trip. I'm not gonna lie to you, the transition from having such slow days to like having to jump right back into work stuff has been kind of rough, but I do feel like my brain is more strong and now I can handle it again. So that's the personal work-life reset that I had. And you may be thinking, that's great. What does it have to do with this channel? The good news is I'm not deleting this channel. And the other good news is that most of the reset as far as YouTube goes is mostly decorative. It's mostly visual. And I'm gonna try and switch up the way that I do videos just so that it feels newer and more fun for me. I feel like one of the problems that I started facing with my videos is that it started to feel a touch too formulaic. The other thing is I'm gonna hopefully do some more craft videos. I think those make me really happy. Gonna try and force myself not to do so many like thematic vlogs, and this is me being a hypocrite because I'm pretty sure my next vlog is with a theme. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and hopefully this time it works. And I think a lot of this new stuff that I'm trying is just gonna be less apparent in the videos themselves and more for like my own personal stuff, which is really just posting when I actually want to post. Just also means that videos are going to be even more sporadic than they already were, but hopefully in exchange for sporadic uploads you get quality videos that I'm actually proud of. And I feel like that's a good exchange. So that's the like administrative update stuff. I do want to share some things about my trip to LA. I didn't do a formal vlog. I never intended to do a formal vlog because I was hanging out with my work grandma. And she doesn't know about this channel, so I wasn't about to be like, hi besties, in her guest room. And also, even if she did know about this channel, I wouldn't want to like force her to be a part of a vlog. I just took some pictures, some videos of like different things that I saw that really captured my mind and attention, but I wasn't doing like a formal like today we're gonna, you know, rather than going through my day-to-day. What I really want to do in this section of the video is just like share some of the art that I saw, because so much of my trip was going to museums, and not just like speed running museums, which is something that I tend to do, but like really taking my time at a museum and really like observing and reflecting a piece of art, which isn't a groundbreaking realization, but like this is how you should attend an art museum. Like you you should really be paying attention to the art. That's what it's all about. I'd like to highlight some of my favorite exhibits. I wrote about them in my journal. Here it is. The first, unfortunately, I don't think is showing anymore. I went to the Contemporary Craft Museum and I went to see this exhibit called Kyungmi Shin, Origin Stories, Highway Hypnosis, and We Carry the Land. I went with my work grandma and with her bestie. This art exhibit by Kyungmi Shin was really cool. It was really small. It was just one room, but we literally spent like 3 or 4 hours there because we were just looking. We were just looking and we were observing and we were taking everything in. But the really cool thing about this artist and about this exhibit is that they superimposed at least 3 images on top of each other to tell a story. So one layer is like a Western medieval painting, another layer would be like an ancient Korean print, and then on top of that would be a family photo. So by superimposing all of these images together, this artist was telling a story of their Korean American identity as well as the immigrant experience, and then just like the general history of South Korea and colonization and etc, etc. And it was just like so incredibly well done. Again, don't think it's showing anymore because I think the Craft Contemporary Museum is closed by the time I post this and getting ready for their next exhibit. Definitely worth a Google search and finding out where else they're showing their art. I also went to see an exhibit at the LACMA, and I don't know if this one is still showing, but this was one of the first museum gallery shows of this 95-year-old Venezuelan artist named Magdalena Suarez Frimkis, and she is a ceramicist, she is a painter, she does tile work. There's something very playful and whimsical about her art, but it was also very serious and intentional. The juxtaposition of like the playful and the whimsy and the pop culture with the like historical and or a little bit more emotional, vulnerable, just kind of tickled my brain in a way that was really great. And then I went to La Plaza, which is in downtown LA, and I think this exhibit is actually still showing for a lot longer than the other 2 that I mentioned, but I don't have the artist's name here, which is unfortunate. I forgot to write it down, but I can tell you that the exhibit is called Toyoteria. And it's this Mexican-American artist. He does these beautiful, like, ginormous paintings, and all of the paintings feature images of like car parts and Catholic imagery as well as like indigenous imagery, and they're all kind of like superimposed on each other. I'm realizing the type of art that I like is a lot of juxtaposition and a lot of superimposing of images to make a point, and I think that's kind of cool. This artist, he specifically used car parts and Catholic imagery to kind of tell a story of his Mexican American identity, and more specifically growing up in a working class mechanic background. And there's this one image, and I'm hoping I actually took a picture or a video of it, where it's like car part and it's shaped like a little cross, and then it's next to a picture of crucified Jesus. And I was just like, art. I highly recommend going to that exhibit, and the best news about La Plaza is free. Don't even freaking worry about it, it's free. The other 2 cost money, except for the fact that the Craft Contemporary Museum is free on Sundays, the more you know. And then one of my favorite museums, which wasn't an art museum, it was more of a historical museum, was the Autry Museum, which is in Glendale. It's like right across the street from the zoo. But this museum is about the American West, but it's not just about like the white John Wayne cowboys kind of guys. It also includes the other histories, the other peoples, the other cultures that made up the American West. So there's a little bit about indigenous history, Black history, Asian history, Mexican history, all enveloped into this beautiful, huge museum. And one of my favorite things about that museum in particular is that they had a plaque. I wonder if I took a picture of it. I know I didn't because I suck. I absolutely didn't take a picture of this plaque, but I did take a picture of a taco horse. So there's that. But there's a plaque somewhere in an exhibit that basically says, a lot of the artists featured here are labeled as anonymous. While we don't know their name or their history, we do know that their stories are still important to tell, or something along those lines. And I thought that was so beautiful. Throughout history, there are a lot of stories and lives and art pieces that are lost because at the time, they were deemed unimportant. But rather than just kind of like tossing it into a storage room, like this museum still showcased it and just acknowledged like, we don't know who did this, but like, this is still a valuable piece of history. I thought that was great. So that's my art part. Let's do a little bit of a haul. So I actually didn't buy a lot while I was there because I wasn't going out to go shopping. I spent a lot of my time like sitting in a park, in a museum, in a cafe, at the pool, you know. There's not a lot of stores except for like museum gift shops, I guess. But I did plan one day to go yarn shopping because this is somewhat of a new tradition for me. I'm really trying to solidify it and to keep it going. But I like the idea of buying yarn when I'm on a trip and then creating my souvenir as opposed to buying like a random t-shirt that says I love LA or whatever the LA equivalent of that t-shirt is. So I stopped by the store called The Little Knittery. I bought these 2 balls of yarn. I could not decide between these 2 types of red because they're very different. Like, yes, they're both cotton. Yes, they're both sport weight, but very different vibes. This is more of a corally red color, and then this one is a little bit of a deeper red, and I don't know if you can see it good, but there's like specks of cream in the yarn. Are you seeing that? I guess it doesn't matter. Just trust me on it. This yarn store was right next to the Skylight bookstore that is semi-popular in LA. And so there I got this copy of The Ex-Wife by Ursula Perot. This is a book that has been haunting me for like at least a year. Every time I go to a bookstore, I see it, I want it, I talk myself out of buying it. But this particular day, I was like, I already spent money on yarn, I can do anything. So I decided to buy it. And this book is about a couple going through a divorce, and we follow the ex-wife named Patricia, and she is kind of just finding her identity as not only a newly found single woman, but as an ex-wife and all of the like social implications that comes with being an ex-wife. And while this wasn't intentional, I do like how on this reset trip, I ended up buying a book about a woman who is starting out all over again and who is having something of a reset herself. I think that's really beautiful and really thematic and cool of me. And so that's it. That's literally all I bought. One other thing I'd like to highlight before I let you go, because I feel like I've been talking a lot about who knows what, is that while I was on this trip, I read this book called Slow Days, Fast Company, The World, the Flesh in LA by Eve Babbitt. This book doesn't have a lot of plot. It's more atmosphere. It's more slow days, fast company, and she's just kind of exploring her relationships with the different people in her life. But this book was perfect for this trip because this trip was all about taking things slow and taking my time and sitting and breathing and disconnecting from my day-to-day responsibilities, tasks, expectations, etc. And so to like read about this woman who's just like straight up lounging at a pool like 50% of the book was such a helpful reminder to lounge around the pool for 50% of my trip and to remind myself it's okay to lounge, you know, it's okay to take things slow. You don't have to be like on the move all the time. You don't have to be working on 5 different things all the time. You know, it's okay to stop. And so I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I don't know if I would have liked it as much if I like read it while I was at home in the middle of like work and life and whatever, but it was truly a case of like perfect time, perfect moment, perfect place of picking up this book. So I enjoyed it a lot. So that's all I have for you. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and all that it was. And I'll see you in the next one. I can't promise you what the next one is or when it will happen, but we'll see each other then.